Hello and welcome. This is Asake Online. My name is Zenzele Ndebele and welcome to the Breakfast Club. Every Thursday, we bring you stories about the liberation struggle, our heroes. We talk about the Gukurahundi genocide, and people give us the testimonies, what they saw, what happened to their families. I find that talking about our past is most of the times painful, traumatizing, but we need to talk about these stories because as a nation, there's a lot that we have not been told. There's a lot that we have not learned in schools. And for myself, I found that reading about the history of the liberation struggle, the history of Zimbabwe, the history of ZIPA, for example, I've learned a lot. It's so difficult to get books that talk about the history of the liberation struggle, especially looking at the book of history, the history of ZIPA and some of the issues that have been that happened in the past. So for those who have always asked me, I sometimes get a lot of emails, phone calls, messages on my Twitter asking which books am I reading, where they can find interesting history about the history of Zimbabwe. Maybe today I'll just share some of the books that I'm reading or that I've read. This is quite an interesting book. It is by Blessing Miles Tendi, The Army and the Politics in Zimbabwe, Mujuru and the Liberation Mujuru, the liberation fighter and kingmaker. So if you can get this book, you learn a lot about the military. I've also read the book and I also had an interview with Chingadube. You know, he has written a book where he talks about his story in the history of the liberation struggle, his role that he played from early childhood up until 2017. I also find this book very interesting. It talks about soldiers in Zimbabwe's liberation struggle, volume 1, edited by Ngwabi Bebe and, no, not Ngwabi Bebe. Yeah, it's Ngwabi Bebe and Terence Ranger. And you get a lot of writers here, David Moore, I think there's something by Tumiso Dabengwa, and many others. They really share their experiences. One other interesting book, especially if you're looking at the history of ZIPA, is The Nation Born of Violence, ZIPA Struggle Against Rhodesia in alliance with ANC and Umkhonto weSizwe. This is Ivan J.H. Sibona. We have done interviews, several of them with him, talking about his history. Also, this is a good book when you're looking at Gukurahundi, Through the Darkness, Life in Zimbabwe, by Judith Cafield Todd. If you can get hold of this, you will actually be informed. Currently, I'm reading, this is quite a new book. I'll call it controversial. The Trials and Tribulations of a ZIPA Soldier by Churchill Mpiezwe Guduza. Guduza talks about so many issues. He raises quite a number of issues if you're looking at the training methods of ZIPA, the way the instructors were treating the recruitees. He talks about, you know, the ZIPA soldier in the battle. Some of the issues that a number of ZIPA guys have avoided or have not talked about. So he tackles these issues head on. I know he's going to be on a collision course with a number of ZIPA guys because he raises a lot of controversial issues. But this is quite an interesting book as well. You can get it and read it. And then if we have the knowledge, then we can debate. Because sometimes when we debate with the little knowledge that we have, we tend to lose the focus. But aside, our interest is to make sure that we collect this book. We know last year in October, we launched the Gukurahundi Memorial Library, and we're in the process of making sure that we stock the books so that then at a later stage, we're going to open it for the public. We have also launched the Gukurahundi website, which we're actually working on to make sure that it's online with the current information. This year, definitely, we are going to launch this Asake Online Publishing House, whose aim is to help history of veterans of the liberation struggle, especially ZIPA veterans, to write their books. So we're actually working on the publishing or the registration of a publishing company that is going to be focusing on publishing history books. We've done a lot of interviews. It's time we put these interviews in form of books so that the next generations can read our history. And if you know anyone, if you have a friend, a father, a cousin, a brother who was in the liberation struggle, who can tell us something about the history of ZIPA, he might have been a foot soldier, he might have been a commander, he might have been an ordinary person. We want to hear those stories. Please get in touch with me. So last week we were talking to Watson Tshipa, whose war name was John Nyamupingidza. the part one, we ended with him in Francistown, where he's about to join or register so that he joins the liberation, and he goes for training. So this week we continue from there. He goes to training, he gets trained, he goes to Zambia, and so forth and so on. So let's see where we end, because this was a 3-hour interview that we had with him on the 17th of April on the banks of the Zambezi River, and we might have part 3 and part 4, and we hope to continue with his story, because he has quite an interesting story, and as a senior member of the ZIPA veterans, and of course a senior member in the Zimbabwe National Army after independence, he has a lot to tell. I hope you enjoy this interview. Above all, you learn something.
So when Matsaga had mentioned if flying, to me it became, this is not guerrillas. Because JD had not mentioned if flying to me. So to me it was like, red flag. And then Matsaga says, no, we'll go back to the stocks, he gave a cigarette, went back. Now, people kept on coming, both groups. For sure, on Wednesday, Amazanla left. And then we stayed on to Friday. We were already a certain number. Now we're 6 of us. ZIPA were there. So now on Friday, Matsaga comes in to pick us up for the airport. So when he took us to the airport, the tickets he gave me 6 tickets. So he says to me, yeah, give each one of you a ticket. And Amabiza Konapo, that becomes your name. So I saw the first ticket, it was Zozomtung, I gave it to another guy. The second one was Felix Wuni, gave it to another guy. And Solomon Chirauro, I gave it to another guy. Solomon was a bit attractive, but I gave it to another guy. And I issued out all the tickets until there was 1 ticket left, which had John Nyamupingidza on it.
So this becomes your
this
name.
Becomes your name. Because Matsaga mentioned it, if it's a ticket, it's yours now. When you get to Zambia, you must tell them that is your name. So when in the aircraft now, I was like really thinking we are going to be in trouble. Because we landed at Livingstone, then from Livingstone. First of all, what surprised me was the waitresses, the hostesses in the aircraft were white. And that was like, to me, was, white, saved by whites. What. But then went on. Landed in Livingstone, from Livingstone, Lusaka. When we landed in Lusaka, because the envelope which we had carried on from Francistown was given to me. So it was with me. And then Matsaga told us, you are going to be met by a certain ZIPA guy. Then when we got to the airport, after staying in the airport, I think for about 15 minutes or so, they came, Amazanla guys, and said, no, we are together, guys. Let's go, we are together. I was like hot on them. I was remembering Mtema's instructions, I was hot on them. Ended up arguing seriously. We were told you were going to be picked up by Zapu Kai. You are not Zapu, you are Zanu, so no. And then the Zambians got attracted and came in and said, what's wrong? I said, these guys are Zanu and they want to take us. We are Zapu. We've been told the Zapu guy is coming. So he chased them away. And for sure, about 5 minutes later, Bernard comes in, who was a ZIPA guy. Comes in, Bernard, Matata, no, sorry. Apparently, I think he had passed somewhere drinking some beer. So Bernard takes us to Mtendere. When we got to Mtendere now, which was the location there, that's when I could pinch myself up like that. Am I in Zambia? On a Friday, 7 days later, I'm in Zambia. And this is Zambia, Lusaka City. Then we're told now we started the interviews and so on.
So
but
this is now still 1973?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now in the interview, they asked me, how did you come to learn about this? I told them of the JTs and Machiminis. And then that evening, we're taken in to Chakwenga, a base called Chakwenga, which was in Mwembeshi later on, but then it was called Chakwenga. When we got to Chakwenga, JT came in and they said, no, this one we need him as a guide. We want him, he must be trained as a guide to go and guide Gorilla Ekai. So they picked me up and another guy called Tumisani, the two of us, to do immediate training, which was quick training. So my instructors were Upili Mzamo and Ubusobenyoka, Lo Mpondo. So we trained in, which was quite hectic, because in around April to May, thereabout, we were to be deployed. Tumisani went to guide Gorilla Ekariba. I was to guide Gorilla from Livingstone because of my conductor being thing. So my first crossing to come Ekaya was here, Ekataitai.
So was this the first time everyone was
First time, no, not everyone else. The other guys were trained in Morogoro and so on. But for me, this was my first crossing with Ekaya after my local training.
The ZIPA guys had been using this?
They had been using this route, but then Ngapa Ekaya, they did not know which way to go. They were getting lost and finding themselves already in Botswana and what have you. Yeah. But then now that I had operated here, the main target why we had come here was to go and see Iteka Army Camp. I mean, I knew where Iteka Army Camp was because of Simangani and so on. So I knew where Iteka Army Camp was.
So what were you using to cross from that side?
We were using Ama canoes, which were called Rotsotsi. Yeah. They were GDR canoes, which were made of rods of planks, which you join together and put a canvas over it. And then it will carry two guys, and the third guy will be the rower in the center. You would actually sort of squat in the center, and the other guy puts his legs in, and the other guy facing backwards would put his legs in, and then the main guy would actually squat in the center. And then the two of you would be dropped off, and then the guy in the center would actually go back. In this case, it was Machimini.
So from that point, if you come in there to the side, how many minutes would it take you?
It will take you quite some time. Maybe, I would say 40 minutes to an hour, depending on the river flow.
This short distance?
My way, it will be very hard, especially from about April towards July. August, it will be better now because the river will be going down. But from this time, the river would be very, very difficult. We had to start it up from up there, right up there, and then come down, just slightly going bichana to the eastern side until you got here. We would start putting on our shoes right there on that baobab tree. So then started guiding them, giving them directions, because I wanted to show them Msuna camp, which was the Deka drum camp. So we went there, right to Simangani, and then to Deka Army Camp. When we got to Deka Camp, our commander then was Machimini, Rogers. So Machimini, when we came in, like at night. We arrived there at night and slept overnight. The next morning, he actually went to the camp and asked for a job to do the washing, cleaning, and so on. They were mainly South Africans who were based there at the army camp. So when he spent the whole day there working, washing their uniforms and so on, and in the evenings he came into camp and told us to go and get cowbells from the villages. So we went out untying cowbells, and apparently what was fun about me is I had 2 bells, cowbells. I had 2 cowbells. So when Majimini showed him 2 bells, he said, "Are you mad? Where have you ever seen a cow with 2 bells? Put away the other bell." So put away the other bell, and he told us to put the cowbells right around our necks. So we had cowbells right around our necks, and we were walking towards the camp. Before we got to camp, these white guys were calling for the African guy to chase the cows away because they were going to shit in the camp and put a lot of dirty. So there's kocha nkomo kawena no. Nkomo kawena no, buti kawena no, we na nkomo. And there were bells. Machimini was too busy deploying. You know, you are into this tent, you're going to be hitting this tent. There were 6 of us. They were deploying us into the tents, giving us tents, two per tent. And then we hit them. But before then, the black guy was busy whistling and chasing. Get away, get away. And so on. But then deploying. So we deployed in and attacked them. So the guys never even fired at us. I think one guy was firing at the top, but most of them were really persuading, "Terrorists, don't kill us. I just married terrorists. Don't kill us. I just married. What have you?" Of course, the helicopter came in. When the helicopter came in, it had a searchlight. You could pick your round on the ground. Only because of the light. Then Majimini was telling us, "Stop, go, and so on." So you would actually stand still, and helicopter coming in, pass, and so on.
And if you're not moving, they couldn't go.
No, they couldn't see you. So until they left us, when we were around Deka, I don't know, the Deka River, that's where they left us, because they couldn't see us. And then we came back here, picked up our Tsotsi thing, and crossed over into Zambia. By morning, we were in Zambia. But then Machimini said, "No, let's go into the gorges." So we went into the gorges, and then they started bombing. From there, they bombed all the way through, and stopped at around 4 o'clock or something like that. That's when they stopped bombing. But then we were just over the other hill when they stopped bombing.
So they couldn't find us.
They couldn't find us.
So it is when you are seated here after crossing that you decide that after the war you're going to...
I'm going to build my home here.
How did that mind cross you?
I just thought it would be sort of like maybe something nice to come and build my home where I crossed the first time, coming into the operational area. Then after that, we actually hit Vic Falls, Chisuma camp, and then the other time when we hit the Chisuma camp, I was because the whites discovered our Tsotsi thing, so we couldn't cross back to Zambia until we tried to chop a tree. We tried to using a tree to cross over, it failed again. We couldn't. So then Machimin decided to swim across to the other side. But then he knew that I knew a crossing point that is on the western side of Vic Falls. There was a crossing point that we used to use there. So Machimin says to me, you take these guys, these 5 guys, you take them across into the other side of Vic Falls, and then go to that Mkamba tree. That is where you're going to find Utsotsi to cross over to Zambia. He swam across and went to Zambia. And so he said, you take them across onto the other side of Vic Falls. I'll go and put Utsotsi on that tree. For sure, we went that way until we found Mkamba tree that he had said about. So as we were going towards that area, we heard some noise. We did not know where that noise was coming from. When we listened, we discovered, we would know it must be Amasocha, because there was no village anywhere around there. As we were walking towards that noise, we discovered a guy, Mkiwa, shaving. He was shaving out on his own. That was Kuni, Colonel Kuni or Sergeant Kuni. I can't establish his rank, but I'm believing he must have been a sergeant major or something like that. He was shaving on his own. So he saw me in the mirror, on his mirror, and he turned around, and there we were. And he says to me, yeah, what do you want? If you do anything funny, my boys, you hear my boys, they'll come and kill you. I said, no, I don't care about your boys. You are coming with us. So he says, I can't come with you on foot. I said, you're not putting on shoes. He says, no, please, I need my shoes. I can't walk like this. I already picked his trousers and gave him his shirt to put on. So I had his trousers around my neck. And then he says, no, I need my boots. I can't walk with this. So I said, change boots. Put the right one on the left foot and the left one on the right foot. So he did that one. And then I decided, no, we can't take him there with us. He might shout before we even get there. So I said to one of the guys who was called Chiboy, he actually is late now. He was now deputy chief of engineering. So Kenneth Murira, the blind guy, he was Kenneth Murira's deputy. So when he said, I said to Chiboy, of course Chiboy had trained well before me, and he had been trained in Morogoro. So it was a common cause that I had been trained locally. So I said to Chiboy, you take him to that tree there, we'll find you there. So as they were going there and we were walking towards that noise, we found, for sure, we found those guys there busy bathing, swimming and so on, making noise, swimming. Their rifles were all grouped up on a tree on the side. So there is now 3 of us. No, against these guys, there were 4, of course. There were 5 guys with one black guy was on top of a tree. So we started shooting at them. When we were shooting at them, I don't know, we didn't hear the boys firing. As we were shooting them, we shot them, Ngengetwane, who was the bushman who was with them, just fell out of the tree and ran away. And then we picked up their rifles, and so now we are running to go and collect the Utsotsi. And I said to them, we are crossing now. We're not going to wait. We're going to cross now, right now. As we were running there, we met Chiboy. Chiboy, where is that guy? Which boy says, I've shot him. I wanted to come and help you. Chiboy, how can you do that? Anyway, we went in, picked up Utotswetu, joined Utotswetu, and crossed to Zambia. We did 2 trips, of course, crossing there. We crossed into Zambia, got into Zambia, and we have these rifles and these camouflages, so we were really very happy. But when we got to SCH, which was the country house base, in about an hour's time, Umangena arrived. And Umangena was very grateful, full of praises. Nyamupingidza, where is Ukun? Which boy shot him? It was like, yeah, that guy was mad. Mangena was mad. Mangena had flown from Lusaka to Livingstone. And he had been picked by Umachimin. And JD was on his way. They're coming to pick up a captured guy. Already, Amarodisians, because they didn't find Kuni, Ungengetwane, he knew where the other guys were. He didn't know where Kuni was. And where Kuni had been, they had moved with Chiboy. And Chiboy shot him away, so they couldn't find the body. So they thought he had been captured. So they started phoning Zambia and so on, JZ and so on. And that's why Mangena flew from Lusaka to come and...
So you had captured a very big guy?
We had captured a very big guy. And now he had been shot.
He's better alive than dead.
Yeah. So Mangena was mad. How could you do that? I said, Chiboy, why did you shoot Kun? Chiboy says I was going to help them. How can you go and help 3 people? You are 1. That's when Mangena decided, no, Nyamupingidza has got to go to Morogoro. Because this guy disobeyed him only because he thought he trained local. So that was my ticket to go to Morogoro. So I was sent back to Chakwenga and joined other recruits in preparation to go to Morogoro. And then we stayed in Chakwenga, I think it was to 9 months, because it was end of the year. It became about 74. That's when we moved to go to Morogoro with the other guys. So when we went to Morogoro, obviously I was instructed not to tell anyone that I had trained and so on, and I had been operating. So I didn't tell anyone. Arrived in Morogoro, got trained in Morogoro for almost 1 year, I think 1 year, close to 1 year, or 3 months, 4 months. Because then the Tante arrived. So all guerrillas were not to operate, and we were detained in the camps, to stay in the camps. That's when ZIPA was mooted out. So we're told you have to go to Mozambique for ZIPA. Before then, the leaders visited us. It was Ndawaningi Stole, Mzorewa, James Chikerema, Joshua Nkomo. They came to visit us in Morogoro, and then Chikerema was like, I don't entertain ZIPA trend. How long have they been trained? And he was told over 9 months. So there was to be a demonstration, obstacle crossing, what, and Chikerema said, no, I don't play with the ZIPA trend. So it was cancelled. Demonstrations were cancelled, and then we were told no. And then they came and addressed us, told us about ZIPA, what have you. So then it was selected that we had to go to Mozambique. And then a group of 30, which involved myself as the platoon commander, Udupu as the overall commander, and Mike Reynolds as the Udupu, Deputy Katupu. I was to be the platoon commander. We were selected and given instructions to go to Zambia. We were not supposed to go to Mozambique, but we were to remain in Zambia. as a nucleus of ZIPA in case ZIPA did not function. So Umangena gave us instructions, specific instructions. When you get to Tunduma with the Tanzanians, you tell them you are ZIPA. When you cross over to the Zambians, you tell the Zambians you are ZIPA. They are going to take you in because I have already arranged that one. But then Udubu, by being dull, Udubu is Ben Mat, Ben Unlea, yes, Brigadier Unlea. Udubu changed from the instructions he was given and said, we are ZIPA. And the Zambian said, no, not ZIPA here. ZIPA is in Mozambique, not ZIPA in Zambia. Then we argued with the Mutubu. Omangena said we must say we are ZIPA as Zambia. You can't say we are ZIPA as Zambia. Because the Mangena told us that. And Mutubu was like, no, you can't divide us. Yeah. We are into unity. So Ama Tanzanians lifted us up and told us to go back to Mbeya. When we got to Mbeya, they put us into aircraft, summer Buffalo aircrafts, to Tete. So we were almost the first people to arrive in Mozambique as ZIPA. Then, unfortunately, now Zanla started coming in from Boroma. They were being flown by Amazambians from Boroma to Tete. When Umangena arrived at Tete for the unity talk, because then we were to be addressed by Samora, he was mad. What are you doing here? I said, no, it's Tupu. It's Ben. He's the one. Tupu, why did I tell you? Tupu was like, no words. So that's how we became the first group to integrate with the Zanla at Tete.
This is quite interesting, quite fascinating history that we rarely hear or read about. So we are going to continue with part 3 next week. But just to appeal to you, if you have a relative, a father, a mother, a brother, a cousin, a sister who was in the liberation struggle and they want to tell their stories, please do get in touch with me. I am at Zenzele on Twitter. You can also find me on Facebook, Zenzele Ndebele. We also, like I said, we have the Kukuraoni Memorial Library. So we are asking for you, if you have books, magazines, ZIPA artifacts. No, we're not looking for guns. If you have a gun that was left in the liberation struggle, please don't bring it. But if you have any other interesting artifacts, the books, the ZIPA, constitution, magazines, it could be. I'm desperately looking for a ZIPA uniform. If there is anyone who knows where I can get a ZIPA uniform, I'm prepared to pay top dollar for that ZIPA uniform. Please get in touch with me. I'm also looking for those wireless radios that were used by the Abafana, Amagerilla. If you know anyone, people's power, people's radio or something. We are looking for those radios. If you know anyone who can give us, please, they can donate it, they can send it to us. This is what we want to put in our library so that our kids and their kids can know or have an idea about some of these things. So thank you very much for watching, and once again, I'm appealing for people who might know some people who are in the liberation struggle or might have interesting war artifacts that they might donate to the library. Please do get in touch so that we register you in the book or in the books of history. My name is Zenzele Ndebele, and at this moment, I would like to thank you for watching, and please share the videos, like our page on Facebook, it's site ZW, on Twitter, it's site CITEZW. Like, follower, so that we get to the hundreds and the thousands, and we reach, our history reaches all over the world. Once again, my name is Zenzele Ndebele. Till we meet again next week, have a wonderful day.